Hello, ladies and gentlemen. So today we're going to be talking about conics. This is essentially analytical geometry in 2 and 3 dimensions. So these are the basic shapes we're going to be focusing on. We have circles, we have ellipses, parabolas, hyperbolas, and then finally a point. So a circle is when you take this 3D shape and you slice it down the middle just like that. Not even down the middle, like slice it perfectly to get a circle. Okay, so you see the circle that we get. The ellipse is what happens when we slice it at an angle. Okay, so when we slice at an angle, we get more of like an oval. So ellipse is just a fancy word for oval. And so then a parabola is when we slice it like this, so that we get a classic shaped parabola. A hyperbola, hyper meaning like super or something, you're slicing it straight down the middle like that, and so you get two parabolas, one above, one below. And we'll figure out how to do that later. And a point is if you go right down the center, like literally at the center, where it's just a point. Now this formula over here, the midpoint formula, we're going to be needing it a lot later. And then we have the distance formula that you learned in geometry many years ago, but we're going to be using it again. So here we go. 8.1, today we're going to be talking about circles. So the standard form or the general form of a circle would look something like this. Okay, so this is something you might want to write down. So the general form of a circle is x squared plus y squared plus dx plus ey, d and e being some random numbers, and then plus f being another random number equals 0. Okay? So that's the standard form. That's when you FOIL everything out and you get everything perfect. Now the standard form is this. So x minus h all squared plus y minus k all squared equals r squared. Okay. Now h and k, those are important. H is the x value of the center, k is the y value of the center, and r is the radius, the distance from the center of the circle all the way out. Okay? And so now what we're going to do is convert these into standard form and then FOIL them out into general form. So here we go. So remember, this is h and this is k. So this would be x minus 0 squared plus y minus 0 squared equals, now we need r squared, so we need 4 squared. Okay, that would give us 16. Now if we simplify this would just be x squared plus y squared equals 16. And that's also our general form. So here's standard form and here's general form. You'll need to know how to do both. So on to part B. So part B is a little bit trickier because they're not zeros this time. So here we have, like we said, H and K. So let's start just plugging and chugging. Now notice how in the center here we have minuses, which means you're thinking the opposite like before. So whatever you have here, do the opposite. So this would be x plus h, or sorry, this plus 2, and then square it, plus y minus 3, and then square it, equals now r squared, so square both sides, this would be 64. So here we have our standard form. But now let's do general form. You need to FOIL these out, okay? So this first one FOILed out would be x squared plus 4x plus 4, and then we FOIL out the next one, so this would be plus y squared minus 6y plus 9, and then I'm going to subtract 64 from both sides, and then now we combine all of our like terms, and then put everything in order. So first we're going to put x squared, followed by y squared, followed by the 4x minus the 6y, and then we combine the 4, the 9, and the 64. When you combine all of those, you get negative 51. And here is your general form. Okay? I'll leave C to you guys. That way you guys get some practice. And now let's work on example 6. So example 6 is tricky because they gave us the diameter endpoints. So let's go to negative 4 comma 1. So sorry, negative 1 comma 4. So that's about right here. And then 3 comma negative 6. So 3, negative 6. That's about down here. Okay. And so now we can see that this is the circle that is formed. Of course, not an art student, so I can't really get that circle nice and pretty. But it seems like our center is going to be somewhere around here. Now, obviously, we can't pinpoint that on a graph. We're not supercomputers. So this is where the midpoint formula comes into play, the thing I talked about earlier. This is going to get us that point. So this is my x1, y1. This is my x2, y2. Okay? And that's what we're going to use. So let's go ahead and plug it into the center formula. So center, or the midpoint. So comma, and let's plug and chug what we know. So this is going to be, let's see what it was, x1 plus x2. So this is negative 1 plus 3, all divided by 2. And then the other one is going to be the ones with the y's. So this is 4 plus negative 6, all over 2. Simplify, this would be 2 over 2, comma, negative 2 over 2. And look at that. We got 1, comma, negative 1. So this is our h and k. Now, let's go ahead and start building what we got. So we have x minus 1 squared plus y plus 1 squared. Now, oh, we need r. And r, so we need the distance point to center. So here we need the distance formula. Okay, now we're going to use, instead of the x1, y1, and x2, y2, so instead of using these, I want the distance from the center to the edge. Okay, and so let's make our life easier, and let's just use this one and these 2 points right there. And if I figure out that distance, I have just figured out r. So my distance formula, I'm going to say r equals the square root of negative 1 minus 1 squared, plus, because those are my 2x values. And now I need to use my 2y values. So this would be 4 minus negative 1 squared. And so this right here would be negative 2 squared plus, let's see, that's 4 plus 1, so that's 5 squared. So this gives me the square root of 4 plus 25, which gives me the square root of 29. And remember, this is r. So now I know that r equals the square root of 29, but I need r squared, which is just 29. So this is 29. And there is my this is my standard form. I'm not going to do the general form, but you just got to FOIL everything out and combine like we did before. And there we go, ladies and gentlemen. We are officially done. Classwork is pretty much for the review and junk. Hopefully we have stuff online to work on. Thank you so much for stopping by. Have a good day.